So this one is on the population issue. I'm going to take a bit of an unconventional perspective in that my outright gut feeling is that the planet, even at 7 billion, isn't totally overpopulated. I'd say that indeed it's approaching that level. But like, I'm from Canada. I mean, I'm going to come at this from a number of angles, but you know, there's places in Canada, for example, that aren't overpopulated. In fact, there's a fair bit of space, but that is sort of a side issue. The real issue is, do we have the resources to maintain humanity at this level? And furthermore, can we do a good enough job of ensuring that our systems do not get polluted? Now, to me, this is largely a governance issue, a leadership issue, in the sense that it's interesting, isn't it, that a lot of the carbon taxing information is coming from, people like Al Gore, who has a major position within governance. So how much can you trust that? I'm not saying he's wrong necessarily, but I have a real difficult time trusting those sorts of people because of, well, A, the history of governance and the lies that have been issued from them many, many times, and B, the fact that a lot of these people pushing these carbon taxes have their hand in the actual money that's coming out of them. So it's just very difficult for me to trust that sort of thing. So that is an important side issue. It really is, in regards to resources / our dealing with environmental problems that are related to population. One step forward that I feel we can do is to integrate things like permaculture and systems design that are beautiful. Beautiful design systems are ones that are more likely to work on a holistic global level, in my opinion. And we have not yet really done a very good job of that. And that means, in large measure, to get post-carbon. Again, I'm uncertain about the effects of carbon on the atmosphere. I really do stand somewhat neutral on this issue. And the people that I hold in most regard on this topic are people like Michael Crichton, who I felt was fairly unbiased on the topic. And, Michael Zimmerman also has sort of a neutral position on what carbon does itself, and he addresses it from the political angle and then from the system science angle. The system science is so difficult, right? System science is you're not just taking one particular objective fact. You're looking at many objective facts, interweaving them, and then coming up with an outcome. So there's many variables, almost infinite variables, when dealing with a global system. And so to pin it down just on carbon that's causing climate change is very, very difficult. I'd say, again, almost impossible to be absolutely certain about. Absolutely certain. You can be highly certain about these things, but absolute certainty just doesn't ring right in my mind on these sorts of issues. That said, it doesn't mean that we ought to take a position, and a strong position. The implementation of that, again, is difficult when the governance structures are such that they are not leaders. They are the opposite of what leaders ought to be in many regards, because they don't have integrity. Their position is not from, a grounded place that understands, who they are as beings and speak honestly from that place. So it's hard for us to look to those sorts of people for guidance on these sorts of issues, but yet, time and again, they have sort of taken that role, which is very unfortunate. So, population itself, if you look at people like Bucky Fuller, he thought if we would have designed better, we would probably have curved it at about 6 billion people. And again, as Math Fails says, and I absolutely agree with him, this is a big educational issue in lots of regards. To be an educated person, you're not going to have intercourse without protection, especially when you're not ready for it. I have a friend of mine that often says things like, you pretty much ought to have a degree if you're going to have a baby. That is, a degree in parenting. You should be, if you have interest in having a child, maybe free education in parenting ought to be given because of the importance of bringing a child into this world. Children are the lighthouses of the future. They're the ones that will bring forth the knowledge into, society. And so it's integral to have parenting that's sound. And, and parenting is a beautiful thing. It's an astonishing thing. I'm not of the mind that we ought not have children. I do say that, when we do have it, we have to be very ready for it, and we have to be very, very responsible around it. But the actual notion and happening and experience of children is the most beautiful thing, arguably, ever. And actually, when you look into some of the government structures, there's some suggestion, in my mind at least, that these are forced depopulation programs that are being put into place already. And by forced, like with the induction of things like fluoride into our water and the genetic modification of food, all this stuff is arguably shortening our life to some extent, at least dulling our minds. And that's the kind of thing that's going to be exactly antithetical to our ability to lead responsible adult lives and thereby create good, healthy children that will navigate the complexities of life that we are facing and the ever-greatening complexities of life, especially with the environmental devastation that has been brought about by this system that's in place. The system that itself does things like the Zeitgeist movement says, planned obsolescence with products, where the products are designed such that they break down early. Again, that has a huge environmental consequence. Again, that is deeply connected to population. So leadership is absolutely key in many regards to this issue, and I do feel, just from my general felt sense experience, that 7 billion is sustainable if taken care of in a really well manner, designed with beautiful systems, designed such that there's not a lot of waste. That like I work at Triac, which is a wood recycling business, where we grind up the wood to create new fuel products and other things like this. So beautiful systems design is essential to having sustainable population, and those sorts of things actually create intelligence in beings because they understand their relationships more fully, how you are in touch with the environmental reality that surrounds you. So that's just a few things. Be well.